Hello, everyone. I'm back again for another update here on the evening of September 15th, 2020. I just got done having a nice baked manicotti meal delivered to me. In my last video earlier today, I talked about how I feel the weather is being to some degree manipulated and gave some supporting evidence to back up what I said of things that I have observed going on to the trained eye, things that I have noticed that are not normal, that in nature on its own normally would not happen with weather systems. Here is my take on this hurricane season. We know all the predictions were for record activity, and they blamed it on the La Nina, which is intensifying in the Pacific. In times past, La Nina's coincided with very active hurricane seasons. So they were banking on the fact that this season was going to be extremely active, with hurricanes popping up everywhere, left and right. However, anybody that's been listening to my videos knows that up until now, that for the most part has not really been happening. You've heard me for weeks saying there's been no activity in the Atlantic and the Pacific, anywhere on the globe, no hurricanes going on anywhere, even into September, the peak of the season. Just not very long ago, there was nothing going on in the tropics anywhere until this past week, when everything suddenly just went gangbusters. Well, starting with Laura, actually. And then after Laura, everything quieted back down for a couple more weeks. And they, with the hope that the La Nina was going to bring on its own, without any interference, a record season, due to their agenda of global warming. And they were going to use that to prove that global warming is happening. The La Nina, causing all these storms, but the storms are not happening till this week. Well, it actually began back in May, when they started naming every low pressure that traversed the Atlantic. Even if it was not tropical, they stuck a name on it. That's when it began. Throughout this tropical weather season, they have been naming every little cloud band in the Atlantic. We're already up to almost through the alphabet now, and it's only going into the not even third week of September, and I know that it has not really been that busy up until this week. Now, it could be easy to say that, yeah, well, we're in the peak of the season, it should get busy. It has not been getting busy, and was not going to be without interference. The season was showing signs of, I've talked about it, winding down. The westerlies over the Atlantic are advancing south. We're coming into fall. The door is going to shut very soon on this tropical weather season. Our climate is cooling, and I don't believe man can even touch the climate trend. They can perhaps influence a storm by firing all kinds of energy at it, perhaps whatever technology, but they cannot change the climate or affect the overall weather patterns. They can only, on a very localized scale, perhaps tip the scale enough to make a difference of something being huge or not being huge that's already there. Man does not have the power in his hands to regulate climate on the earth or anything else major like that, or create a storm or a tornado out of nothing. You do not have that power. So we're coming into the home stretch of the season. There wasn't much going on up till this week. They were really worried that nothing much was going to materialize this year without some intervention. So what they are doing now is they're trying to get the major hurricane count up to above average, and they are firing like crazy at Sally in the Gulf. I noticed that as soon as it developed an eye wall this afternoon, the popping stopped because they stopped firing energy into it. They weren't firing energy into it anymore. It got going finally on its own. So they moved their attention over to Teddy. Now I notice that out in the Atlantic, Teddy is popping with convection like Sally was all throughout this event until it finally developed an eye this afternoon. And then all of a sudden, the popping, the fireworks stopped with Sally after that happened. Once it got going on its own, now they're moving over to Teddy, and I hate to say it, Teddy is probably going to become a major hurricane, but it's not going to be a natural process. It's going to be energy that they're firing into it that's going to get it up to hurricane status, and then they're going to subtly steer it toward North America. And somebody's going to get slammed, very likely, by Teddy. But it's not going to be global warming. It's going to be an agenda to make it appear that this is a record season. So I'm giving fair warning that Teddy is probably going to bring some destruction somewhere in North America. They're very likely going to steer it toward the continent. And I would not be surprised if it makes landfall somewhere as a Cat 4 hurricane. It's not a prediction, but I'm looking at it from the perspective of these people that were hoping for a record season. That now, that on its own, it has not really happened, at least with hurricane formation in the Atlantic, that now they're going to start giving it everything they have under their belt to try to make these storms become hurricanes now, because they're not happening on their own. As I've said, system after system has come off Africa. None of them have developed because the water in the Atlantic, again, I hold to it, simply is not warm enough. So now they're firing energy at these systems, laser, who knows what they're using. They're doing it with Teddy now. They did it with Sally earlier. There's no way Sally could have become a hurricane naturally after sitting in that one spot. As long as it has, it would have used, as I said in the previous video, it would have used up all the energy out of that water a long time ago. For that storm to even be a hurricane now, to develop an eye, it had to have had a tremendous amount of energy thrown at it from an outside source. There's no other way it could have happened. Now they're throwing energy at Teddy from whatever source, I don't know. But I see it happening. I see the fireworks. It's not natural type of convection. It's laser beams or something they're shooting at it. of some sort of energy. Once Teddy gets fired up and starts revving up on its own, they'll let up on it. They won't need to put any more energy in it. With Sally, they were firing energy beams at Sally for days to try to get it going, and it just would not quite go. They kept it where it was through, I don't know how they do it, but they even controlled to some degree the track of it so that it came up to as I said before, it came up to Pensacola. Nobody will tell you in the media that the eye or center was coming on shore in Pensacola 2 days ago and it was moving north, almost due north. Nobody had that on their projected tracks. Nobody talked about it. The minute it was about to make landfall on Pensacola, like as I've said before, it bounced. They hit it with some sort of energy that where it couldn't move forward anymore, it bounced to the west and then bounced around off of Mobile for 2 extra days. They kept desperately firing it with all the energy they had at their disposal to try to turn it into a hurricane. And they finally managed this afternoon to get an eye wall to develop, and it did not happen on its own, I'm telling you. There's no way it could have happened on its own as long as that storm was sitting there. The energy in that water below it was used up by then. It was interacting with land. But I really thought about, I am detaching myself emotionally from all of this. It's like I've had to do with so many other things. And just gonna kind of take an observation role on it all. But I am giving warning on Teddy that I'm telling you, I would not be surprised if it devastates some section of North America, but it will not be global warming. It will not be a natural process. It will be that they fired it up with some sort of energy and even perhaps steered it toward North America to get it to hit somewhere. And I hate to say it, it is disgusting if what I'm saying is correct. It is disgusting, but I have decided I'm not going to emotionally be involved with all of this anymore. I'm just going to take a seat of observation, observe it in a detached way, and report it as I see it. So that is going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed what I had to say about all this. I will be back soon.